Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'm here with Brownell's Daily Defense to talk to you about shooting with weapon-mounted lights. All right, so why is this important? For a couple reasons. The biggest one being that you may be in a situation where there's just diminished lighting conditions, just enough to where you can't positively identify the target. Maybe it's a shoot threat, or maybe it's a family member. So having some sort of white light is popular. Weapon-mounted lights are very popular. Now, one of the cautions that I issue with any type of weapon-mounted light is that whatever the light is pointed at, so is your barrel. So it's one of these things where I like weapon-mounted lights, but it doesn't mean that you still shouldn't have some sort of handheld light for most of the normal tasks that you would need a white light for. About the only time that these come into their own is when I have kind of moved from search mode, ID mode, and into shoot mode, because then I can use a two-handed technique versus the one-handed technique from a handheld flashlight. So there are a lot of different types of lights. We have the the Surefire X300 Ultra. This thing is pretty much the workhorse. This is what you probably see mounts onto the utility rails of most of the handguns that are out there. Then if you're looking at kind of condensing the package down, we've got this XC1 light that makes a very nice small profile, really nice for concealed carry. And then, of course, if you're looking at an even smaller profile with the subcompact, such as this XL3 or this 365 XL, we have the new XSC light here. So there's a couple of different lights out there. These are just some samples of different sizes according to the different types of purposes behind the guns, right? So these guns are designed mainly for concealed carry, so I'm probably not going to really want to be pushing something this big. So I'm going to keep going with those smaller lights. Now, you also have different types of switches. There are different types of switches that you have. The most common are going to be the toggle switch, where if you toggle it up or down, you're going to see the light coming on. You also can press on it, and if you press on it, that will also turn the light on. So it just depends on the type of light. Here I have something that's a little different. Instead of it being a toggle, it's more of a paddle. So this paddle button that I'm using right here is what actually initiates the light. Oops, and left the light on. And then here, I've got another toggle switch, and this toggle switch is great, but then I also have a push button to go constant on, constant off. So it just really depends on the type of light that you get and the manufacturer as far as what type of switches that you have. Now, we talked also about the pluses and minuses of constant on versus momentary on. And with a weapon-mounted light, the constant on is one of those features that sounds really good, but it also is probably one that you want to use sparingly. Your go-to should always be the momentary condition for any light, whether it's a weapon-mounted or a handheld. There are times for a constant to be valuable, but most of the time you're going to be better suited using momentary. As soon as I break contact, as soon as I'm no longer applying pressure, the light goes out, and that's probably a good thing. Very few times will I need to actually keep the light on in a constant on feature. Now, one of the other things that we talk about is as I'm using these guns with the lights on, I now need to be using a ready position. So there's a lot of different ready positions that you have available. There's the low ready, there's the high ready, there's compressed readies, and there's all the hybrids in between. But the point is that you're going to probably have to use a ready position for your search mode. One of the things that makes it kind of like, again, a reason why I'm not as big a fan as the weapon-mounted lights is I lose the ability to do indirect lighting. So while I can hold this light and actually use indirect lighting with it, I can't do that with these guns. I suppose I could, but it's not very tactically sound nor safe to just point the muzzle straight up and illuminate the ceiling. So you give that up as far as a technique or a tactic, and man, there's a lot of value in that indirect lighting that I'm just like, I'm not a big fan. Now, when it comes to the actual application, when it comes time to actually use the light and the gun together, you still have those three modes. You still have search mode, ID mode, and shoot mode. But this is where it gets really tricky because I can be searching, but remember, wherever my light is wherever my light is pointing is also where my muzzle is pointing. And so I don't have the ability to kind of separate from my body to get better angles with the white light when I'm or handheld light when I'm using the weapon mounted light. When it comes to the ID mode, just realize that you are pointing the gun at that target. So if you haven't been able to positively identify that, there's a gray area there as far as your use of force is concerned you need to be aware of. Like I said, when it comes to the actual shooting portion, at this point, this is where these lights really shine because I'm back to using a two-hand technique. Now, most of your defensive gun use scenarios are happening at close ranges where your benefit of a two-hand versus one-hand, it starts to get a little diminished at that point because the ranges are close enough to where shooting strong hand only versus shooting with two hands, yes, there's a difference, clearly, but it's not as big a difference as if I was at the 10, the 15, or possibly even further. All right, so let's take a look at how these guns actually work when we go into some live fire shooting. All right, so the weather chased us off the range. We had to seek shelter because it kind of turned nasty on us. So I'm going to finish inside after we finish the live fire drills. The thing about a weapon-mounted white light is that it has some value. If you're using it from a home defense scenario where you grab it and have to go and investigate some sort of disturbance in the middle of the night, it makes sense. However, you do have to recognize that whatever the white light is covering, so too is your muzzle. So be careful and be smart. All right, I'm Jeff Gonzalez. If you have any questions or comments or other experiences that you'd like to share, please feel free to post them down below in the comments. Until then, take care and stay safe.